Welcome to this edition of Sojourners Along the Way. This is a hint about the program. Can you tell what this program is going to focus on? How about if you get to see this? Now do you know what we're going to focus on for this edition of Sojourners Along the Way? Yes, we're focusing on our dads. And when I saw this particular image, I immediately thought about when I was a young child and how I gave my father a little trophy that said, "World's Best Dad." And it brought back some very happy memories for me. But I was wondering, do they still make things like that nowadays? Do they have trophies or plaques that kids can give to their fathers? I hope so. So let's start off with Happy Father's Day. A dad is someone who wants to catch you before you fall, but instead picks you up, brushes you off, and lets you try again. Thanks, Dad. Please keep on helping us to learn and to help us succeed. Thanks. A brief history of Father's Day. This is from Wikipedia, but I did some additional editing. A traditional day for the celebration of fatherhood in Europe is known to date back to the Middle Ages. It was observed on March 19th, the feast day of Saint Joseph. This celebration was brought to the Americas by the Spanish and Portuguese. Father's Day was not celebrated in the U.S. outside of Catholic traditions until the 20th century. As a civic celebration in the U.S., it was inaugurated in the early 20th century to complement Mother's Day by celebrating fathers. After Anna Jarvis's successful promotion of Mother's Day in Grafton, West Virginia, yay West Virginia, we thank you for that, the first observation of a Father's Day was held on July 5th, 1908 in Fairmont, West Virginia, in what is now known as Central United Methodist Church. Grace Golden Clayton, in December 1907, was mourning the loss of her father due to a mining disaster which killed 361 men. 250 of them were fathers, leaving around 1,000 fatherless children. Clayton suggested that her pastor, Robert Thomas Webb, honor all those fathers. The establishment of the holiday. On June 19, 1910, a Father's Day celebration was held at the YMCA in Spokane, Washington, by Sonora Smart Dodd. Her father, the Civil War veteran William Jackson Smart, was a single parent who raised his 6 children. After hearing a sermon about Jarvis's Mother's Day in 1909, Sonora told her pastor that fathers should have a similar holiday to honor them. She initially suggested June 5th, her father's birthday, but the pastors did not have enough time to prepare their sermons. The celebration was deferred to the 3rd Sunday in June. Several local clergymen accepted the idea, and on June 19th, 1910, sermons honoring fathers were presented throughout the city. A bill to accord national recognition of the holiday was introduced in Congress in 1913. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson went to Spokane to speak at a Father's Day celebration. He wanted to make it an officially recognized federal holiday. Congress resisted, fearing it would become commercialized. U.S. President Calvin Coolidge recommended in 1924 the day be observed throughout the entire nation. He stopped short of issuing a national proclamation. 2 earlier attempts to formally recognize the holiday had been defeated by Congress. In 1957, Maine Senator Margaret Chase Smith wrote a Father's Day proposal accusing Congress of ignoring fathers for 40 years while honoring mothers, thus signaling out just one of our two parents. In 1966, President Lyndon B. Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers, designating the third Sunday in June as Father's Day. 6 years later, the day was made a permanent national holiday when President Richard Nixon signed it into law in 1972. That may be a brief history of what happened, but it sure did take a long time. But it's good that we now have a recognized holiday to honor our fathers. Let's remember our fathers nowadays. If your father is still living, do something special and honor him. Tell him thank you. Think about happy memories from childhood. And if he has passed on, you can still honor his memory by talking about him. And in your own memories, keep him in your heart. A definition of dad. The word dad is a noun, and some of the meanings are a father, guardian, provider, protector, friend, teacher, mentor, inspiration, listener, best hug giver, sports fanatic, fixer-upper, handyman, mower man, king of corny jokes, taxi, bank, chef, part-time fun guy, tough on the outside, soft in the middle, best dad you could ask for. And those 3 little dots mean you can add something else that suits your dad. Like for me, I wouldn't include corny jokes because my dad didn't tell jokes. But he was maybe not 100% all of the others, but he was up there. So what fits your dad? Let him know and tell him thank you. What is a good father? Here's one answer, and I thought it was really special that Billy Graham was the one that said this. A good father is one of the most unsung, unpraised, unnoticed, and yet one of the most valuable assets of our society. We need good fathers in this country, in all countries. And of course, in today's society with equal billing, I thought this was a very appropriate saying. Dads are just as important as moms, and I'll leave the verdict up to you, whether you agree or not. You might say dads are more important. Other people will say, no, moms are more important. You can decide that, okay? My family is my greatest treasure. We aren't perfect, but I love them with all my heart. And I want to put in a plug. Please, please remember, nobody is perfect. There was only one perfect and only one who is perfect, and that's Jesus. So don't expect perfection from your parents, and definitely do not expect perfection from your children. But love, love, love. That's what each family is in need of, and kids are crying out for. So share love with your family. I adore his smile. I cherish his hugs. I admire his heart. But most of all, I love that he is my son. And maybe your son is the father of your grandchildren. I have 2 older brothers. I'd love to have more contact with them. That heart is my expression for my brothers. And it says, my brother. But for me, it has to say brothers, plural, because I do have 2. My brother may not always be at my side, but he is always in my heart. And that is true for my brothers. I think about them a lot. What about you? Do you have a brother? This is a shout out for those that are the unsung dad. So please hear it from me on behalf of the children that you inherited through marriage. Best stepdaddy ever. And tell yourself that, because sometimes kids don't think to say things. but we want you to know it. You are appreciated. Thank you very much, stepdads. I hope that you will take this truth. If you are a father, please teach it to your children. And if you are a child, whatever age, please try to incorporate this into your life. A young man called his dad after running out of gas. He'll never forget what he said next. My dad taught me many lessons growing up. He spoke to me about honesty, respect, and honor. One day, when I was a young man, I ran out of fuel in my car. I was a few miles from home and without a penny. I walked into a pub and asked if I could use their phone to get my dad to come and collect me. They told me there was a payphone in the corner. I asked if they had 25 cents so I could call, and they obliged. My dad came, and the following day I picked up my car. When I got home from work the next day, my dad asked me if I had stopped off to repay the 25 cents I had borrowed. I told him no, as I had not borrowed the money, but they had just given it to me, and it was only 25 cents. He told me to pop in and return it. Then he told me why. If you don't return that 25 cents, no one will mind. No one will even notice. However, if you make an effort to return that 25 cents, then they will notice your actions. They will all notice. They will see that you are an honest man, and they will remember you and your good example. If you ever need a favor again, they will be happy to help you. He went on to say, it takes a lifetime to build a good reputation, but only a moment to lose it. He was in business for years and was very respected by all. Now he is living with me and my family because he needs constant care. People don't talk much these days about honor and the value of a good name, but I am proud of my good name and thankful to my dad for it. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches, and favor is better than silver or gold. That's from Proverbs chapter 22, verse 1. Something to think about, isn't it? You can have a good reputation, but it took a lifetime to build it, and just in one moment it can be damaged. But fortunately, especially with God, there are second chances. So we need to give people second chances and help them help people. Thank you. This is a scripture that I really like because I think it is a powerful prayer. Numbers 6, verse 24. The Lord bless you and keep you. So happy Father's Day. And that's my personal prayer for all of our fathers, that you will be blessed by God and that God will keep you. So much is involved in those two words, keep you from harm, keep you safe, help you to be healthy, and may you be so blessed, and you'll recognize it's the hand of God blessing you. Happy Father's Day. You can hear that a lot during this program because we want to bless our fathers, and we want you to have a great day celebrating being a father. Son, I closed my eyes for a moment, and suddenly a man stood where a boy was. I may not carry you now in my arms, but I will always carry you in my heart. You have given me so many reasons to be proud of the man you have become, but the proudest moment for me is telling others that you are my son. I love you now and forever. Amen. Look at Dad. Bow and arrow. Look at the kids. Bow and arrow, and together they're holding hands. Dad, you teach kids so much just by your example. But, dads, listen carefully. If you're a young father, you really need to pay attention to this. If you've been a father for quite a while and you're now maybe even into the grandfather stage, help your son to learn this lesson. So that way he can be prepared, or they can be prepared depending upon the situations. The hardest part of being a parent is watching a child go through something really tough and not being able to fix it for them. How many of you fathers agree with that? How many of you fathers would agree with this? One day, when my children are grown, I hope they still come through the front door without knocking. One day, when my children are grown, I hope they head to the kitchen for a snack and rifle through the mail looking for a magazine they always read. One day, when my children are grown, I hope they come in and feel the weight of adulthood leave them, for they are home one day. Be prepared for this, parents. But children, listen to this. For my children, my door is always open. I love this picture. I have to. It's of a beach with a nice calm water. I'm going to say it's the ocean, but I don't know that it really is. It could be a bay, it could be just some beach someplace. But just take a look at that. A father and a child. A father is someone you look up to, no matter how tall you grow. You might get taller than your father. You might never be taller than your father. But you can look up to your father always. Happy Father's Day. This is probably one of my favorites that I found looking for things to put on this program. Love the picture. And that picture reminded me of my father. Even though I was my father's first and only daughter, and I had 2 older brothers, my father made sure that I knew what was under the hood of the car, how to change the oil, and lots of other things. I knew what a carburetor was. So when I was on my own and I needed to have some work done on a car, I knew whether they were going to be treating me properly and not overcharging me, because if they pointed to the carburetor and they were telling me that it was something else, I knew I didn't want to do business there. So dads, remember, you are able to teach your children by doing stuff with them, just like this picture. The kid might not be able to actually help with that vehicle, but you're teaching. And remember this, and I'm going to add something to it. Small boys, well, I'll have to adjust it a little bit because it is gender-oriented. So we're going to make it fit boys and girls, males and females, okay? Small boys become big men. Small girls become big women through the influence of big men who care about small boys. And again, dads, you can help your daughters to learn about lots of things, so that way they will not be taken when they need help with stuff. But dads, please, I'm going to just read it the way that it is. Small boys become big men through the influence of big men who care about small boys. Help the boys to become good, strong, big men. Take a really good look at this image. What do you see, and what can you feel from this image? It says, be strong. You never know who you are inspiring. Look at the 2 men. How are they walking? They have their hands clasped behind them. Look at the little child doing exactly the same thing. Even at that young age, this child is imitating what the child is seeing. Did either one of those men tell the child, this is how you're supposed to walk? You have your hands clasped behind your back? I don't think so. That child is doing what the child sees the adults doing. And I don't know, is one of them that child's father? What are you teaching your children through your example, fathers? What do they see you do? Very important. Dad, your guiding hand on my shoulder will remain with me forever. That's from Chicken Soup for the Soul. They have a lot of good stuff, but nowadays there have been some changes, so you kind of have to pick and choose. But I love a lot of their expressions that they have. And dads, please, again, remember, you are setting an example, whether you are aware of it or not. What you do speaks volumes to the kids in your lives, much more than your words. Don't be one of those that will tell a child, do as I say, not as I do. Sorry. Doesn't cut it, because what they see is what remains with them much more than what you say. So make sure that you are guiding them in the way you want them to go. Your guiding hand on their shoulder will remain with them. Maybe not forever, but for the rest of their lives. So lead them in the right path, in the right direction, please. Thank you. I thought this was really cute. Please, 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 let your kids know that they are stars in your lives and how much you love them, how precious they are. Children are like stars. They sparkle and shine. They are the most precious things we will ever have in our lives. I love my children. Say those words to your children often, daily, throughout the day. Let them know how much you love them. Don't think that your actions are speaking that to them. Kids need to hear that they are loved. And let the kids know they're your stars. Help them to sparkle and shine. If you see a frown on your child's face, try to find out why. Ask them questions. Don't just say, is everything all right? Because the natural answer to that question will be, yeah, everything's fine, especially when they hit the teenage years. So help, while the child is young, develop great, open, honest communications so that way they'll feel comfortable and saying, hey, Dad, I'm having a problem. Can you help me? And they'll be able to open their hearts up to you and let them know what's going on. Help this statement to be true for your children. Children are like stars. They sparkle and shine. They are the most precious, and I don't like the word things, but they are the most precious ones we will ever have in our lives. I love my children, and they know it. I thought this was fun. I never knew this came from William Shakespeare. It is a wise father who knows his children. Could you imagine William Shakespeare saying something like that? According to my source, he did. And of course, you know who that wise source is, right? The know-it-all Google search. I hope this is true for the dads out in the viewing audience. The only thing better than having you as a dad is my children having you as their grandpa. Make that true. It's been said that when you're a grandparent, you get to have all the fun with the kids, and then you give them back to the parents, especially when they're little babies and they have a poopy diaper. You can play with them up until that moment and then go, here, Dad. And yes, dads, I hope you do change the poopy diapers. You will endear yourself to your child if you do that with your grandchildren. Enjoy being a dad and enjoy being a grandpa. And on the subject of grandchildren, grandparents, how many of you would agree with this? The best medicine in the world is a kiss from your grandchild. How many of you, when you were a child and you skinned your knee, scraped your elbow, banged your head, you got a kiss from your parent, mother or father, and that wiped up all the tears, didn't it? Made you feel lots better, and you skipped off to go back into play. Well, grandpas need kisses for their boo-boos too. that sometimes their boo-boos don't show on the outside because they're on the inside. And a kiss does work wonders. Again, knowing that you're loved. And to have your grandchild give you a kiss is so wonderful. Doesn't it touch your heart? Doesn't it make you feel warm on the inside? That you know that this child loves you. And it's expressed through them giving you a kiss. Okay, parents, fathers particularly, don't be so hard on yourself. Look for the good in your child, your children, and then realize the truth of this statement. Happiness is when you realize your children have turned out to be good people. Don't be hard on yourself and don't be hard on them. See the good and then speak it to them. They need to hear good job. And don't just say the words good job. Tell them why you're saying good job. What did they do? You reinforce a behavior, it will be repeated. And I'm speaking that as an educator. I learned early on, if I wanted a child to do something right, I had to catch them in the act of doing something good. Parents, fathers, particularly fathers, catch your kids doing good and then tell them how good they did and that you are proud of them. They need to hear that no matter what the age, even as an adult. It's nice to have your parent, your father, say, that was a good job. You did that so well. You make them feel good on the inside. And that's a wonderful thing for a father to do for their child, their children. Kids, young adults, adults, you might not think this, but it's probably in your Father's heart. To my children, if I had to choose between loving you and breathing, I would use my last breath to tell you, I love you. I hope that the kids will know this, but I hope you fathers will tell your kids how much you love them and that you would lay your life down for them, that that's how much you love them, that if something were to happen and they needed to be protected, you would be there for them, that they can count on you, and they know they can count on you. You have to express it. Kids do not know things automatically. It's not like osmosis that you expect them to realize it and to know it. You have to say it. You have to demonstrate it even more than saying it. To my children, if I had to choose between loving you and breathing, I would use my last breath to tell you, I love you. I really, really like this picture. There's Daddy Cat helping Mommy to have her baby kittens. That's a great example for our fathers today. Moms need your help. Be there for them when they're having the babies and help them to nurture the child, the children, and to grow up. It's not their job alone. Yes, they brought them into the world, but look at this cat. I mean, where did he learn that? Where did he learn? And that probably really made it much easier for the mama cat. At least it made it comfortable, I hope. So dads, you can do that for your wife. Bless her. I thought this was hilarious. You have to look at it closely so you can see it. Look at that piece of wood. And can you see it? It says, my dad handed me this and said, looks like he barked up the wrong tree. Can you see the dog? Isn't that adorable? Or should I say adoggable? But yay, Dad. Help your kids to develop their imaginations, to be able to see things like laying on the ground, looking up at the clouds, and looking for what you can find inside the clouds. Great, great way to help develop imaginations in kids. Yeah, that's been done for generations, and hopefully it will continue to be done with generations, because that's a great bonding time between a father and the children, and it's a freebie too. Look up at the clouds and ask your kids, what do you see? But set the example for them by telling them, hey, look at those clouds over there to the right, above us, over to our left. Can you see an angel in those clouds? Can you see a car or whatever? I hope that this particular image makes you think of about that. If you look closely, you should be able to see 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, the lips, the chin. I think it's so cute. May it make you think of things to show your kids. This is extremely important to remember. A message for children and a message to parents. There are no perfect parents, and there are no perfect children. But there are plenty of perfect moments along the way. Parents, please remember, you are creating memories. Please, please, please work at making happy memories for your kids, because those memories will be extremely important to your children later in life. And kids, remember, your parents aren't perfect. They make mistakes. But see how much they love you. And parents, again, let your kids know how much you love them. Yes, say the words, I love you. But also let your actions speak to them. Let your actions speak volumes to your kids of a great, deep love that you have for each one. And let them know, if you have more than one child, let the child know how much you love them, and don't compare them to the other child. You love them for who they are, the way that they are, and you help to mold them to be a really good person as an adult. There are no perfect parents, and there are no perfect children, but there are plenty of perfect moments along the way. Many, many happy memories. Happy Father's Day. This is 2 in 1. The first one is addressing a relationship between a father and a daughter, and then the second is a situation between a father and a son. There's something like a line of gold thread running through a man's words when he talks to his daughter, and gradually, over the years, it gets to be long enough for you to pick up in your hands and weave into a cloth that feels like love itself. And for the son, one night, a father overheard his son pray, "Dear God, make me the kind of man my daddy is." Later that night, the father prayed, "Dear God, make me the kind of man my son wants me to be. I love you, Papa, forever." While I was gathering materials for this program, I came across this next bit of information, and I thought it would be fun to share it, because this is not just in the United States, but from other countries also. So we're going to look at what some things happened during the month of June. June 12th, the World Day Against Child Labor. And unfortunately, yes, that does still happen in some other countries. June 14th, I love this one, want to put in a big plug for it, World Blood Donor Day. In fact, the month of June, the year 2018, I will be donating blood again, because I am a blood donor every 56 days. And I want to encourage you, please, wherever you are, especially since this says World Blood Donor Day, please donate blood. It is needed. June 14th is also Flag Day in the United States. June 17th, 2018 is Father's Day. June 19th, Juneteenth Day. Never knew there was such a thing. I'd like to know what it's all about. If you know, would you please contact Sojourners Along the Way? You can do that via a letter or email. That would be tremendous. Thank you. June 20th, World Refugee Day. And we need to remember that there are people that are refugees and they need help. I don't know how they did this, but June 20th is West Virginia Day. What are they supposed to do? How do they celebrate it? And June 21st is the solstice, the summer solstice. June 23rd, International Widows Day. I never knew there was such a thing as that. June 23rd, Public Service Day. June 26th, World Day to support torture victims. And that, unfortunately, does still go on, and we need to help get it stopped. June 26th is also World Day Against Drug Abuse and Trafficking. We really need to do something about that. Too many lives are being lost to overdosing. We need to help people. And then I'm going to end with this one. July 4th is Independence Day. We have a lot to be thankful for. These next few clips are for those of us whose dad is no longer with us, but is hopefully in heaven now. Dad, my mind still talks to you. My heart still looks for you. My soul knows you are at peace. I hope this is true for you. To my Father, separated by death, together by love. Miss you. And I can speak for myself. I really do miss my dad. And I'm going to be reading something that I wrote that expresses this for one aspect, one element from my life. You may be separated by death, but the love between you can never be taken away from you. Dad, you are loved. How many of you feel this way? I can no longer see you with my eyes, touch you with my hands, but I will feel you in my heart forever. Express that and let it bless your hearts. Let the love flow. And you may need to forgive your father, your mother, and that will set you free. You may never be able to see your father with your eyes or touch your parent with your hands, but let the feelings, the love in your heart be felt. And this is for those of you who have lost a brother. I love my brother that is in heaven, and he will forever be in your heart. Let that love be expressed to others. Talk about your brother. Keep the memories alive and share them with others. How many of you feel this way? I wish I could hug my dad one more time. How many of you would say, yes, I wish I could hug my dad again? It's okay to miss him. And celebrating fathers, it's okay to express that. Write about your dad. Write a poem. Talk about your dad. Let people know. Again, keep the memory alive, because he will remain in your heart. And that's a way to give him a hug. This next clip, which is actually a letter that I wrote, I mentioned that earlier. that I was going to share something that I had written. This is an open posthumous communication with my father. Dear Dad, if only, if only, if only, if only, if only, if only I had known, if only you had told me, if only. Dad, why didn't you tell me it wasn't you? You knew it meant a great deal to me, how I wanted this. You knew how much I wanted to earn my pilot's license. You were my ground school instructor and my flight instructor. This is true. This did happen. My dad was my ground school instructor, and he was my flight instructor. Dad, you knew I earned the right and privilege to fly solo. I had fulfilled all the requirements, flight time, test, everything. I never understood why you would not take me back to the airport. Did you know how angry I was with you? I could have spit nails. I felt you did it deliberately. You were there as I did all the work, and then you pulled the rug out from under me. You killed my dream. Why? See, I could fly an airplane at that time, but I didn't have a driver's license. I always thought that was kind of interesting and quite hilarious. Why, Dad? I was the only one of your children who was involved in all of your hobbies. You enjoyed fishing. I did too. Kite flying was great, and my dad had a fantastic way of flying kites. We used a fishing rod. It made it a lot easier to get the kite to go up and to keep control of it. You could reel it in, you could reel it out, and it was an immediate, much faster just to turn the knob on the fishing reel rod than if you had to do it some other way. Kite flying was great. Sailing was tremendous. I wanted to be with you. That was my impetus. I'd do anything to be with you. Flying was all of this and much more. Flying was different. I loved the feeling of freedom, not attached to anything, floating in the air, so far from the earth. My imagination let me pick up cars and trucks. Powerful, ever so powerful. Dad, why didn't you tell me Mom was the driving force? Said no. She did not want me to fly solo. Mom didn't want her 16-year-old daughter flying without you. Oh, Dad, if only you said this prior to Mom's death and not much later. Angry does not adequately describe what I felt for years. I forgive you, Dad. Please forgive me. I am so sorry. Thank you for loving me through it all. I love you. Sure would have liked to have had this conversation prior to your death, Dad. Dear Dads, Happy Father's Day. Please make every effort to understand your children. Make sure your lines of communication are open and honest. Allow your children to express their frustrations. Assist them to work through stuff. What is their perspective on a situation? Is it what you think it is? Find out. Do not assume. I don't think my dad ever knew how angry I was. And even to this day, I still would love to have gotten and to get my pilot's license. I love it. And flying commercially is nothing like flying a small a small airplane. The only part I didn't like about working on my pilot's license was when you had to deliberately put the plane into a stall. The way that was done was you aimed the plane straight up, and after a while, the engine will quit. The engine stops. You're in the air, and the engine stops. So you had to learn to be able to restart that plane and get it flying properly. I liked the feeling of when the plane would go from nose up to nose down. It was really an interesting sensation. But I hated what it meant, because it meant the engine was not functioning. And if I didn't get the plane going again, or if my father, was not able to get the plane going again, we were in major problems. But always restart it, and always worked out just fine. And it taught me a lot about trusting my dad, that he knew my abilities, and he knew that I was at the point that I could fly a plane solo. But my mom didn't want me to. I sure wish I had known that when I was a kid. I think it would have helped my relationship with my dad, because I was so angry with him, because I never got to see my dream be fulfilled. But I've learned a lot. I learned a lot about my dad. I guess he knew I would have been very upset with my mom, and I probably would have begged her, and I would have just kept on and on and on, saying, "Mom, why can't I? Dad knows I'm able to. Dad says I'm ready, so why won't you let me? Why did you stop me?" But that's not the way it played out. So dads, please help your kids. Make sure they know what's going on. Keep the lines of communications open, truthful, be honest, and filled with love. I do love my dad, and I am thankful. The first true love any girl has is her father. No one will ever replace him as the love of her life. Happy Father's Day, Dad. I love you so much. And from my childhood, I would say my dad was my first true love. He was my Charlie. Nobody else. He was my Charlie. And I did do all of those things with my dad. I can vividly recall going fishing. I grew up in New Jersey, 1.5 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, spent all my summers down at the beach in the water, but it was really special to go fishing. I don't know if you know what the jetties are. That's that pile of rocks that goes from the land out into the ocean, and we'd go on the jetty and we'd go fishing. And it was just my dad and I. My brothers weren't interested. Or my dad and I would go on the boats, and we'd go out into the ocean. And I'm probably one of the only, if not the only person that you may know who ever actually lassoed a fish. That's how I don't know the word I want to use. That's how high the waves were. That boat was going up and down and up and down, and it must have done it just right that literally I lassoed a fish and got it on board. So my dad taught me how to fish very well. This is a message for those of you that have parents still living while you're young, wherever you are in life. Remember this. When spending time with your parents seems like too much effort, remember, one day all you'll have is the memories. Again, fill your lives with positive memories, treasures, things that you'll be able to look back on and it'll be filled with love. When spending time with your parents seems like too much effort, remember, one day, all you'll have is the memories. So if you need to forgive one of your parents, please do it. And I'm going to, again, since this program is focusing on fathers, keep that in mind, that when you are spending time with your children, you are creating memories. Memories that they will hopefully treasure in their hearts when you're not around anymore. Start when they're young, if you have young children. But if you have adult children, make the memories from this day forward good, positive, strong, loving memories. This next slide is a message to those that still have parents who are living. Filial piety. It is a noun, and the one definition is the virtue and primary duty of respect, obedience, and care for one's parents and elderly family members. I hope you can read what it says down below. What is filial piety? At its core, it is the virtue of respecting, obeying, and taking care of our parents and elderly kin. I had to include this because obviously, well, maybe not so obviously, that's a Chinese character, and it just brought back memories of my working in China and Taiwan. But I thought, I saw this in action. I saw the children, grown children, who took care of their elderly parents. And I saw the respect. And I'm sad to say I saw that more over in China than I have here in the United States. We can learn something from that. The virtue and primary duty of respect, obedience, and care for one's parents and elderly family members. May this be an encouragement to us to care for one another, to help each other. From a father to a son. To my son, I sometimes wish you were still small, not yet so big and strong and tall. For when I think of yesterday, I close my eyes and see you play. I often miss that little boy who pestered me to buy a toy, who filled my days with pure delight, from early morn to late at night. We watch our children change and grow. As seasons come, they quickly go. But our God has a perfect plan to shape a boy into a man. Today, my son, I'm proud of you for all the thoughtful things you do. I just love this, especially that it does include the words, I'm proud of you. Our children, again, no matter what their ages, need to hear those words. I'm proud of you. I thought this was a great image to have right after that letter to a son, because it talked about buying things. Don't buy me everything you wish you had growing up. Teach me everything you wish you would have known growing up. Things are not as important. It's just stuff. But knowledge, experience, gaining a good name. Teach your children those qualities, okay? How to do those things. Don't buy me everything you wish you had growing up. Teach me everything you wish you would have known growing up. That will be a very successful point for your children. Happy Father's Day. There's a lot that goes into that. Honoring fathers, loving fathers, expressing that we want our fathers to be happy. And to think about, what can you do if your father is still alive? What can you do to help your father, not just to have a happy Father's Day, but to fill his days with happiness, love, joy, peace? Try to find something special for your father. Since this program will begin airing right around the 4th of July, I also wanted to include a tribute to our country. We have so much to be thankful for just by being born in this nation and living in it. So let's go beyond just having a picnic, partying, and of course fireworks. And I love the fireworks, so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of those things, but let's go for a big thank you, especially a thank you to our military and all that they do on our behalf, and really be thankful for our Constitution and what liberties and freedoms it gives us. So may you enjoy the 4th of July and fathers. I thought this would be a fun way and a great tribute to fathers all over the world, because this next clip shows flags of countries and celebrating Father's Day when it is done in those countries. I am not going to read them all, just enjoy the beauty of the flags and the celebration of fathers. I don't know about a lot of the countries. I do know in the United States it's always the third Sunday in June. And I also know, and I thought this was fun, in Chinese, the number 8 is Ba, which is how young Chinese children call their father, Baba. Baba translates to 8-8. So in China, Baba, 8-8, is August the 8th. And guess what Father's Day is in China? If you said August the 8th, yes, you would be correct. So, now, Father's Day in some other countries has some different names. So, read as you can what is with the flags, because all of this has to do with Father's Day in other countries. Happy Father's Day to all of you, fathers, and may God bless you abundantly.